Hey everybody, and this is the welcome to the first geometry lesson of the year, and this lesson belongs to the segments concept, so this will be part of the segments quiz. The first thing I want to talk about is when two segments are congruent. And what it means for two segments to be congruent is that they are the same length. So you can see here I have two segments, so they're both 2 inches long. And you can also notice that I have two little red slashes that go through the segments. That symbolically tells you that the segments are congruent. So if I didn't have the label 2 inches on each of the segments, but I did have those two red slashes, I would still know that the segments were congruent. And that's what that tells you. We have a symbol for congruent, and it looks like an equal sign with this little squiggly on top of it. This symbol right here means congruent. So we can use congruent segments to our advantage. Here I have two segments that I'm telling you are congruent, but I'm also showing you they're congruent by using the red slashes. So if I want to solve for x, I can set up an equation. Since the two segments are congruent, that means that they are equal in length. So I could take the length of one segment, make it equal to the other one. And now I just solve this equation until I figure out what x is equal to. And it's equal to 15. So again, I just took the length of one, put an equal sign, and took the length of the other one, and then I have an equation that I can solve for x. So go ahead and try and replicate that right here. So these two segments are congruent. I told you they are, and I also have the two red slashes there. So I can just say that their lengths are equal to each other. And I can just solve this equation. And I can find out that x is equal to 6. I went through that a little bit fast. Remember, you can always pause and rewind to see what I said or see the work that I've done. Another thing we want to talk about with segments is a midpoint of a segment. So A and C are the endpoints of segment AC. B is the midpoint. I know it's the midpoint because of these two slashes. The midpoint B creates two smaller congruent segments. So AB and BC, those segments are congruent to each other. And I can write that just like this. Segment AB is congruent to segment BC. What that means, like we just discussed, is that the length of AB is equal to the length of BC. So if we take away the segment symbol from the name of these segments, then I'm talking about the length of the segments. So when we take the symbol off of AB and BC, we'll also take the squiggly off of the congruent symbol, and now we're talking about two segment lengths that are equal to each other. So if I measured AB, it would be equal to BC. So we can use that information to write equations and find values of x or any other variable. We'll see this format of information a lot, so I want you to become familiar with it. I'm telling you, or I'm giving you, the length of LM, and I'm going to put that on my picture. I'm also giving you the length of MN. Put that on my picture. I've told you that M is the midpoint, so that means that these two segments are congruent to each other. LM and MN are congruent, so that means their lengths are equal. So I'll just plug in the length of LM and the length of MN, and I can go ahead and do some algebra. And I can get that the value of x is 4. I'm going a little quickly through the solving of the equation. If you get stuck solving the equation, make sure you check your work against mine. And also make sure that you make a little note to yourself and you ask me in class, maybe why I added 3 or why I divided by 4 or how I set up this equation. So pause the video right here, use the example I just did, and go ahead and try this one. So again, I told you that K is the midpoint of JL. So segment JK and segment KL are congruent to each other. I gave you that JK is 19. I gave you that KL is 7x minus 2. You should always label your picture with as much information as possible. It helps you get a good idea of what's happening. We're trying to find x. These two segments are congruent, so we can say that their lengths are equal. And then we can plug in the appropriate lengths, 19 and 7x minus 2. And then we're just going to do some algebra. And we're going to find that x is equal to 3. If I plug 3 back in here for x, 7x minus 2 should equal 19. I apologize for the bell. So we've talked about what it is for segments to be congruent, what it is that a midpoint does to a segment. A midpoint breaks a segment into 2 congruent smaller segments. And now we're just going to talk about segment addition. So R is not the midpoint. You can tell because QR is 12 and RS is 9. But if we add 2 smaller segments together, we'll get the length of the whole entire segment, QS. So I'm going to show that in symbols here. QS, the whole segment, is equal to the 2 smaller segments, QR and RS, added together. And since the symbol's not up there, that means we're talking about the lengths of those segments, and that's also why I'm using an equal sign. So I'll plug in what I know. QR is 12, RS is 9, so that means that QS is 21. So we can apply that information to other sorts of figures that have segments in them if we have segment lengths. So I'm given ML is equal to x plus 4, LK is equal to 2x plus 8, and MK is equal to 30. So I'll tell you right now that I broke my own rule here. I didn't label my picture, but you should. ML, this segment, is x plus 4. LK is 2x plus 8. And then this whole thing, the yellow plus the blue, is equal to 30. So I'm going to write that down using segment length symbols. Then I'm going to fill in what I know, plugging in 30 for MK, x plus 4 for ML, 2x plus 8 for LK. And now I just have an equation to solve for x. I'm going to combine x and 2x to make 3x. 4 and 8 added together gives me 12. And now I'm going to skip a few of those steps that you're used to showing. Let's solve this equation for x. Now there's something a little bit different that I added to this problem, and that is that I want to find the length of LK. So I found x. Now let's use x to find the length of LK. So LK was equal to 2x plus 8, so I'm going to plug 6 in for x in that equation. So LK is 2x plus 8. I'll plug 6 in for x, that's what I found over here. And I'll simplify, and I'll find out that the length of LK, the segment I highlighted in blue up here, is 20. So go ahead and pause here. A little bit simpler of a picture. Same idea. I want you to try this one. Use the last one as an example. And again, I broke my own rule. I didn't label my picture, but you should. So G is obviously not the midpoint. We're going to use segment addition here. I told you the length of HG, the length of GF, and the length of HF, the whole big segment, and I want to find the length of HG. So in order to do that, I'm going to start by representing that the big segment HF is equal to those two smaller segments added together. I'm going to plug in their lengths that I was given. Over on the right, I'm going to combine 10x plus 5x. And now I'm going to solve this two-step equation by subtracting 31. I'll divide by 15. I'm not done yet. I know what x is, but the thing that I asked you to find is the length of hg. And hg was originally represented by 10x plus 31. So I'm going to take the value of x that we found, x equals 2, and plug it in right here. Always using parentheses when I plug in for a variable. And then I'm going to simplify 10 times 2, do that little addition, and I'm going to find out the length from h to g is 51. And again, I apologize for the bell. I'm recording this during school, during the lunch period, so just a little extra noise. So I have two U-dos for you. Please don't just do this one. There's two. I will scroll down in a second. So if you need to, pause right now and copy the first U-do down. Remember to go to the link below this video on YouTube and submit your answers on the Google form. Just give me a number. Don't say x equals. Just type the number in there and I'll know what you're talking about. So remember to bring any questions that you have to class, and I'll be glad to answer them, and we'll work through this together.